Welcome to the Ditch the Struggle podcast. I'm your host, Alana Rosso. I'm a graphic designer turned career and success coach who knew I could do better, but kept falling short of where I wanted to go. But after years of exploring personal and career development, business, money mindset, and energy work, I'm here to tell you that yes, you can move from stuck and defeated to empowered and confident. Ready to dive in? Awesome. Together, let's ditch the struggle. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. If you have had a job that was a long time ago and it's still affecting you, this is the episode for you. So not too long ago, I was having a conversation with a friend, and she was talking about a job that she had 20 years ago and was still upset about it. There were things that happened to her that were still hard for her to reconcile. It was a toxic job on steroids. She had a very abusive boss. Like, it was one of those situations that was like, she's telling me the stories and you can't believe it almost, right? And she got stuck in it. Just, you know how when you're in a hard job, but she actually loved her job, like the actual role, and you kind of get sucked into the vortex. And the boss, I think, was really toxic in a very manipulative, slow way. So it was like over time, it just got worse and worse and worse. And then suddenly you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I'm in hell right now. It's really a toxic relationship was what happens. And those are often a slow burn. They're a slow build. And she was in this and she said to me, she's like, I can't believe I'm still talking about this job from 20 years ago. How embarrassing, you know? I was like, but it's not. And what I want to bring to the table today is validation, and validation that it's normal to still be upset about things that happened years ago in jobs, because they are relationships. They're a huge part of our lives. And we are told to just get over things, that just put it behind you, move on. That is possible, but you have to do a lot of the work to unpack that. And what was really interesting is that this person was very growth oriented and into personal development and was really working through and was like, I finally actually do feel like I've been able to move through this. And in part because she was able to get a new job, or got a job at this stage in her life that was really helping build up her confidence and feel good about herself and just sparking joy. And like, it's the good experiences that do counteract the bad, right? Like, but the thing is, if it's a really bad experience, it can take so long to build ourselves up again. And I have seen this. I've had a few experiences myself, obviously. I talk about my toxic boss from hell in episodes 59, 60, 61, and 65, if you want to go back to those. But I have just had so many friends, people I know, gone through experiences where they are decimated. They're decimated. And then they kind of beat themselves up because they are decimated, that they are having a hard time recovering, that they can't just bounce back, that they still feel like garbage, that they still question their worth, that they know the boss was like a sociopath or whatever it was, and they know it was not them, like logically and consciously, but they were so manipulated and torn down over time that it becomes really hard to pick up the pieces and put yourself back together again. And we expect that we should. I mean, I feel like it's a lot like if you go through the loss of someone, I feel like we live in a society where you're expected to get over it in 6 months. Like, personally, that's what I see. I see 6 months as like, oh, it was 6 months ago. Okay, you should be fine now. You should just be fine. Meanwhile, this person meant everything to you, or it was a traumatic experience, or they were sick for a long time. Whatever it is, it's like we're just expected to get over things super quickly. And the same is true for jobs. And what I want to normalize here is that it's very common for people to still be upset about jobs that happened a long time ago. Again, we have to move through it. And I'm going to give you some suggestions for kind of like moving through it, and an exercise that I do to help just move on. But it happens. And I had this job at the beginning of my career, and I sometimes still think about it. It was so fucked up. It was so crazy. And it set the stage for so many bad decisions I made in my career, or what I would tolerate, or what I thought was normal. So it was a design agency very early on in my career, barely out of school, or I was out of school, but hadn't done too many jobs. I don't even know how I got this job. Well, I think it's because I had worked at Umbra for 3 months. I'd done a 3-month contract at Umbra. I feel like every graphic designer in Toronto at some point goes through the doors of Umbra. It was awful. It was like, they offered to extend my contract. I was like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. They treated the industrial designers like gold, and they treated the graphic designers like just garbage. It was so disorganized. I did get a lot of Umbra stuff, which was great when I wasn't being paid much money. So I got a lot of free Umbra stuff. I think I had an O chair as a office work chair for many years. But I worked at Umbra, so I think that helped me get into this design studio, which was an old boys club. And I was working on like vacuum cleaner packaging, a lot of techie products. It was like all these guys. I didn't really fit in. It was just an odd fit. I was only there 9 months because one of their main clients was a travel industry, and the travel industry had really collapsed after 9/11. So it didn't last very long, but the hours were insane. I was often getting there at 9 a.m, 8:30 even, staying till midnight all the time. Like, this is agency life, right? And you've heard me say in many episodes, agency life is not for me. I just hate the hours. I think it becomes crazy slave labor. I was working so many hours, and I was on salary. I wasn't on anything hourly, right? And then this production designer comes in. Oh, no, not a production designer, production manager. And I think she was like production manager / traffic controller. I don't think they use that term too much anymore, but someone to manage all the products, get the art at the door to the client, approved, blah, 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 like workflow, right? So woman comes in. Her name was Donna. I still remember her name. And she was militant. She was the micromanager that makes me want to just slash their tires. And I just don't do well with micromanagers. As an adult, I think I know how to manage my time, my energy, my workflow. And this was the type of person who told you that you couldn't just come into the office for 9 o'clock. You had to be in the office sitting at your desk working at 9 o'clock. Meaning, she's like, you can't come in and, come in and get yourself a coffee, go to the washroom, have a chat, and then, be sitting down by 9:15. No, you had to be in your ass in your chair at 9 a.m. So that would mean coming in at 8:45, whatever it is. You couldn't be just, lounging around and having a social moment with your coworkers that you're now going to spend the next 16 hours with. God forbid, right? So she was not my favorite person. This was not my favorite job. And it was really on top of her being just awful to work with and not my style of manager. And I felt totally powerless because I was so young and I really didn't know anything. And I was like, I guess this is just the way the world works and the design world works and agencies work. And for the most part, they did. They weren't very different when I went from place to place. Rogers worked in kind of a similar way, and I've worked there multiple times. And I've said this also before, but I would say they are the worst corporation that I've ever worked for is Rogers. Just the company culture was so toxic, depressing. People just got fired every day, left, right, and center. No one cared. Just awful. But this job had such an impact on me for so long. Now, I did leave again after 9 months, but I would still think about it. I've reflected on it since. And here's the thing is if a job is still you think about it and it was awful, you have to really dig deep and reflect on what was it about it. Now, for me, a lot of it was that my boundaries were crossed in terms of time. I literally had no life. So it sucked everything out of me. It literally sucked my energy. I felt like it sucked my soul. I felt like I sacrificed so much for this company I didn't care about. I didn't care about the product. They were not very nice people. They weren't people that I really enjoyed being around. I mean, there was a couple great characters and there were great people. So there were some great people. But, the leaders, I didn't have any respect for. The work wasn't fulfilling. And again, the hours were insane and it was just expected. So that really was something that I had to think about and think through. And to this day, if I feel like I'm being overworked and too much is being asked of me, I get triggered. And I know this because I got the message early on in one of these first jobs. Really, it's great information. It's great feedback that I had this experience because I know now what does set me off. It's I need to have my space. I need to have my time to do the things I want to do. For some people, they actually don't care. They're willing to work 16 hours a day and they're fine with it. Not so much for me. So I've had to really reflect on it. I didn't feel valued. All these things, all the things that triggered you, I really encourage you to write them down, think about them, reflect on them. And the goal is to make sure that you're moving to somewhere or moving into a position or some kind of role where you have less of that, where you don't have it as much. And if it's a recurring pattern, then you have to really think about, okay, why do I keep finding myself in the same position? Because I do believe in that idea that we keep getting lessons over and over again until we finally get them, to the point where if you see the red flags, you actually say, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not walking into this trap again, right? But it can take a few rounds to do that. I did have a few demanding jobs after that, obviously, and somewhere I was working crazy hours, but I did have more of an awareness of it, and I start to recognize like not good leadership early on. And if I would see it, I would make the exit plan happen. Like I would start putting it into motion. I wouldn't tolerate it for as long as I did. Now I was being paid pretty well back then, so I can see why. Like you have to make a paycheck. You do what you need to do in the moment. But this place was not fun. And what was interesting is that this Donna woman, I think it was 8 or 9 years later, I saw her. I was in a hospital actually, and I randomly saw her pushing a pram. So she'd had a baby. And I did not say hello. I just was like, oh, okay, interesting. And I did feel a little bit of like, oh man, like that was not a fun experience. I wasn't as crazy triggered as I could have been because I had, moved on, obviously, but done that work. So what I mean by doing the work is like, again, getting clear on what it was about the job that triggered you, upset you. And it could be just the one person, and that could be totally it, or it could be a combination of things. It could be, the toxic boss plus the long hours, plus that you didn't love the work, it wasn't fulfilling. Get clear on what it is. And I recommend just writing it out. Like, what were the things that didn't work for me? What was upsetting to it? And then I'm going to suggest that you actually do a little exercise. Declan calls this writing the list. And it's not actually a list, but I think it's hilarious that he came up with this name of writing a list. I had learned this from a friend. So there's different versions of this out there. It's not something that's original to me, and it's my friend's idea mixed with some of my ideas and what's out there. But get out the paper, and let's say it's one particular job, and you basically rage write everything you hated about the job, what upset you, what frustrated. You let yourself write out everything about this job, the person there, the work, the environment, the boss, anything you want, and you let it fly on the paper. So rage writing, reason why Declan was calling it a list, because he thought I was writing it in bullet points. You certainly can write in bullet points. Whatever you want to call it, a letter, a list, like just a release. You're going to physically write out with a pen, so not typing. You want to actually use your own handwriting because it's more powerful when you use your own handwriting to write something. You actually are using different synapses between the body and the brain. That's helpful. So you're going to write everything that you hated about this job. Everything. You can use any swear word you want, every swear word you want. You get to go to town. No one is going to read this. You're not sending this to anybody. This is for you and for you only. And you can actually do this for anything. So you can do it about a job you had, which is what we're talking about here. But any experience you had to anyone, living or dead, doesn't matter. You want to just let it out. We keep so much in, and there's only so many times you can kind of really, trauma dump on your friends or family before it's like, okay, I do want to move through this experience, and I don't want to be like stuck in that energy of that experience. So write it all out. And it could be something like, this job sucked because, and start going. I hated this person so much because they did this to me. Anything you want, go. Write as many pages as you possibly can until it's like out of you, like it feels kind of done. Then what you're going to do is read through it. And I recommend twice. So really read through it all, consciously absorbing what you've written and really just acknowledging, okay, this happened to me. This is how I felt. No judgment on yourself. Like you're not judging yourself for how you're feeling. And spoiler alert, or like secret alert. Everyone has these awful feelings about other people or other experiences, and they just they would never say them out loud. And so this is just your time to write them down. But it's just be honest and put it all down. Then you're reading it through without judgment, just this is what happened, read it through twice. And then this is the fun time. You get to burn it. So I love to personally rip it into a bunch of pieces, put it into a flame-proof bowl. I like to go outside. So please, exercise fire safety, full disclaimer. And then you are going to let it burn. All that stuff that you experienced, all the rage, you're going to let it burn and you're going to watch it burn. Now, you can just watch it burn. You can also add to that and say something like, I release this from my life. I let this go. You can say something like that, whatever feels good to you. You can also, and this was a recommendation from a friend of mine, was recite the Ho'oponopono prayer, which I will put a link to that in the Google or the show notes, and you can Google it. And there's different variations of the Ho'oponopono prayer, which is a Hawaiian prayer, but it's something similar to, I forgive you, I'm sorry, thank you, I love you. So you can say, I forgive you, I'm sorry, thank you, I love you, while it's burning and you're letting it go. You may not be able to say, I forgive you. I understand that might be too much. So you can just say, thank you. You can say, you don't even have to say this prayer, but I do find it helpful and I personally like it. So it's a total personal thing. This is for you to figure out what's going to make you feel good. You may just want to burn it and just tell, just that's it, right? So, but one idea is to actually do the Ho'oponopono prayer over it and just to fully release it. Now, that's really all there is to it. It sounds really simple. Personally, when I have done this over situations or experiences that have been upsetting to me, I feel lighter and weird things happen a few days later. I had a really upsetting experience with someone once. I wrote out a letter. I just let it go, all the emotions, whatever I needed to feel and say on the paper, burned it, said my prayer over it. I am not joking. 2 days later, that the person sent me an email basically apologizing for what had happened, had a totally different perspective on it, and then the whole situation was done and dusted. It just resolved itself instantly. It was so bizarre and so out of left field. I think and I believe that energetically things just shift when we let things go. And the act of just writing things out and dumping it, trauma dumping on the paper and then burning it out, can be so healing. And also what I love about this, it is free. It is simple. The tricky part is you gotta go through the emotion. This is what shadow work is. This is sitting in the tough stuff. It means potentially reliving that job, reliving the emotions that you had for that boss, remembering the garbage that you experienced, and then having the courage to put it down on paper and not really judge yourself and just let it fly. That's not easy to do. It's kind of draining. You'll finish and you're going to feel lighter, but you're also going to feel potentially tired. You might not. But it's just I've been kind of put through the ringer because you're letting the emotions really go through you and you're feeling it. And you're just that is part of it, is to actually feel it, not to just write it down in a rote way and just be this happened and this and this and this and this really sucked. No, you got to let the emotions go. And again, use any verbiage that you would like to use that adequately expresses it for you. So you can, again, apply this to anything, but it can be great if you've gone through an awful job. The toxic job that I mentioned, what I call the company Blush Cosmetics, is the kind of the nickname or the pseudo name for it. That's not the real name, but that's what I call it. That one did affect me, but interestingly, it didn't as much as other jobs from when I was younger, because I had done more work and I had more awareness around what had happened. So I didn't necessarily have to do this whole ritual around it. My rage was not nearly as intense, but physically I was very exhausted from the job because there had been such a level of burnout. So I had to just spend a lot of time recalibrating and resting and kind of just putting myself back together. But certainly a lot of jobs I have had, or not a lot, but certain ones I have had, have been like I have done this kind of thing where I've written it out and be like, okay, this is what really upset me. So it just depends what you need to do. It can be really helpful. And even if the job, you think you're like kind of okay with it, I do find that sometimes we're not as okay with what happened as we say we are, that there's some residue. So it could still be helpful. Like, to be honest, it probably would be helpful for me to sit down and just, even though I'm trying not, I don't really want to go back there. And I did that whole podcast series kind of just to let it go. Oh, actually, now I'm remembering, once I did all the podcast notes, because it took me a while to put it all together, it was like kind of a timeline to it. I did burn every note that I made about those 4 podcast episodes. I burned it. So I did let it go. Just remembering that, and that felt really amazing. So that was kind of my closure. I didn't do it directly after I did this job, but after I recorded those podcast episodes, I did do that. Yes, I do like burning things. I do find that it's really helpful. Again, do it in a safe environment. But so there's a couple things here. One, it's totally normal to still be upset or feel emotions about a job, even if it was 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Totally normal. Comes up with so many people that I talked about, has come up with me personally. So that is normal. Remember, it's not just a job. It was actually a relationship. It's like a whole experience. It's a huge part of your life. We work minimum 8 hours a day, most of us, right? Like that's a third of your life. So you can't just always snap your fingers and be over it. You do want to move on, for sure. So do the things you need to do. Get clear on what it was that upset you about the job. See what you can do to move through that. Listen to the podcast, read the book, and highly recommend this idea of writing out like a rage letter, a list of all the things that you didn't like about the job, the experience. Write it all out in your own handwriting. Burn it, send it out to the universe, let it go, and see how you feel. Because I would not be surprised if you felt better after, felt a little clearer, a little lighter, a little more free, and give yourself that permission and space to realize that you can let it go and you can move on to something better. Okay? Take care, guys. Thank you for joining me today on Ditch the Struggle. You showing up here means so, so much to me. To dig deeper into the topics discussed today and to learn about my work, visit alanarosa.com. And don't forget to download your free resources while you're there. And if this episode resonated with you, please share with others who also want to ditch the struggle. Go ahead and subscribe to the podcast, leave a rating and a review, and let me know what you'd like to see more of on this podcast. And before I go, I want to leave you with my 3 favorite ways to ditch the struggle. Be your own best advocate, take baby steps for the win, and forget about a linear career path. It's overrated and you are doing just fine. See you next time.